What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Burning Hammer podcast. I'm your host, Mark Izzo, and alongside me, as always, is your other host, Dillon O'Brien. Dillon, how are you doing? What's going on in Dillon's world?
Mark, I'm doing well. It's great to be back on the podcast. And I'm just a lot has gone down this week in wrestling. There's a lot to talk about. So I'm excited to just be back on another episode and getting over a little bit of a cold. If I'm sniffling or if I sound a little off, that might be why. Getting over a little sickness. So, but I'm just I'm excited to be here as always.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot to talk about in the professional wrestling world. But before we get into that, Dillon, you have a wrestling shirt on.
I don't. Do
All
not have
good.
a wrestling shirt on today because you guys ran me dry. I think I went 15 straight. I'll get some more soon. And like I said, I'm also getting over a cold, so I'm wearing a sweatshirt. But I did kind of sneak some eyes on something that Mark might be wearing. So let's see what Mark's rocking.
Yeah, Dill, I got one question for you. You feeling oozy?
Wow. Oh yeah.
That's right.
What a great purchase.
Yeah.
Feeling oozy shirt.
And I'll say right now, I'm feeling very oozy.
Heck yeah.
All right.
We go. That's a great purchase.
Well, it was a birthday present from my girlfriend. Shout out my girlfriend. These past 3 episodes were all t-shirts that she got me. So shout out to her. But before we can get started into the episode, if you want to stay up to date with when we release new episodes, the best way to do that is by following us on social media. On Twitter, we are at The Burnt Hammer. On Instagram and TikTok, we are at The Burning Hammer. And make sure to like and make sure to subscribe and make sure to leave a comment. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Vendettas, make sure to do the same thing there. If you're watching on the Burning Hammer, head over to Vendetta and do all of that good stuff. If you're listening via audio streaming service, make sure to leave us a review. That really helps us out a lot. Like the episode and make sure to follow or subscribe, whatever it is that your streaming service does. If you're watching on YouTube, we are available wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you want to follow Dillon on social media, you can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Dill O'Brien _wave. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mark Izzo _wave. That is the best way to get our initial reactions on anything and everything that happens in the professional wrestling world. And me and Dillon write about professional wrestling for Vendetta Sports Media, so you can head over to vendettasportsmedia.com to read all of our latest articles. We cover professional wrestling, WWE, AEW, and along with a lot of other major news, we do previews and we do results and reviews for the weekly AEW and WWE shows, along with betting odds, early match card predictions. We do match cards, anything and everything involving professional wrestling we cover. So head over to vendettasportsmedia.com and make sure to follow Vendetta on their social media. On Twitter, they are at Vendetta VSM. On Instagram and TikTok, they are at Vendetta Sports Media. Now, business has been handled. And like we said to start off the episode, a lot of stuff has happened. So the first thing we're going to get into is the boss, Sasha Banks. And her future is getting a bit more interesting as the days go on. We talked about it last week initially, that she was going to be at Wrestle Kingdom 17 reportedly, and it was not through WWE. We didn't know if she was going to appear in front of the live crowd or if she was just going to go there as a fan, but the reports were that New Japan Pro Wrestling was bringing her to the show. We got some more news. Per Wrestling Observer newsletter, Sasha Banks is believed to be a free agent in January. Like I said, she's set to appear at Wrestle Kingdom 17, which happens on January 4th of 2023. And it is not through WWE, and New Japan believes she will be a free agent come Wrestle Kingdom 17. Dillon, what are your thoughts about this news All of this is just reports per Wrestling Observer newsletter. But what are your thoughts on if Sasha Banks will be a free agent come January?
I mean, it would be huge for New Japan Pro Wrestling, to be able to, sign Sasha Banks and get her on a get her get her wrestling at Wrestle Kingdom. I can't imagine that Sasha would sign would immediately sign a deal that is exclusive to one company. I'm assuming that Sasha. It feels like we might be getting the Sasha Banks like run right now, and I feel like she might be making some appearances. And if it is true and she is a free agent, I feel like we might be getting some Sasha Banks appearances in a lot of different companies. Honestly,
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think that she's going to, if she is a free agent in January, I can't imagine her just signing exclusively, like you said, to one company. Because, I mean, she said it over on her social media. There's been like a lot of things that she wants to do. She's been training all across the world with professional wrestling. And I think she is going to sort of hit the independence tour with New Japan, maybe even AAA. She could wrestle a little bit in AEW, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all of this news is true. She still is listed on WWE's roster on their website. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with her. There's no news on Naomi's contract or anything like that, but I think it is worth noting that Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker are set to take on Saraya. Is that how you say it?
yeah.
Saraya on and a mystery partner on January 11th, I believe, on that episode of Dynamite in Los Angeles. So it's definitely something worth noting. The reports are true. She could be a free agent by then. I think it'd be pretty epic if Sasha Banks pulls up. Like we talked about last week, she trademarked a lot of new names for other businesses outside of professional wrestling. And I think if she does leave WWE, this is going to be a huge loss for them.
Hmm.
One of the four horsewomen. You can argue probably one of the best women's wrestlers in WWE. And when it's all said and done, she'll probably go down as one of the best ever in professional wrestling, despite what company it is. So it's definitely going to be a huge loss for WWE, especially with their SmackDown women's division lacking. Like it's not very even with the Raw women's division. So
It's gonna be
that'll be a
such a
huge
major
loss.
loss, like such a major loss. Um,
Yeah.
Sasha's probably like the biggest star they have, honestly. When it comes, she's like her and Becky. You know what I mean? Really, when you think about it, her, Becky, and and Bianca, and I don't know, man. It's just Sasha Banks is one of the biggest wrestlers in the world. So for the WWE to lose her, it's gonna be they're gonna be taking a blow if they lose her. But good for Sasha if that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean, and we saw what's happening with Mandy Rose, which we'll get into in a little bit on the pod. But if Sasha does want to chase other um avenues of income outside of the WWE, the best way to do it might be not being involved with WWE. Regardless, I think everyone can agree that we just want to see Sasha Banks wrestle. Like I said, she's one of the best women's wrestlers on the planet. However way you slice it, she's one of the best, and she'll go down as one of the best women's wrestlers once it's all said and done. As long as she comes back to wrestling, I think everyone will be happy, regardless of where it is. And so we have some other interesting news involving Wrestle Kingdom 17. Karl Anderson of the OC, signed to WWE, is set to defend the never open weight championship at Wrestle Kingdom 17. And he's going to face Tama Tonga. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. He will be the first ever WWE contracted wrestler to wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom. And so that's pretty big news.
Hmm.
He just defended the belt a few days ago. He won it, which I was pretty surprised about. I thought he was going to drop it then, but apparently WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling came to an agreement about letting him wrestle for New Japan. So I think it's pretty surreal to see a WWE signed wrestler going to wrestle for New Japan at their biggest show of the year.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, and it's honestly great. It's great for the business. It's great for the sport. Um, if this is, you know, just the start of them, being able to form kind of a decent friendship, at least, you know what I mean, between the two companies, and see what we can do with them in the future. But it's just great to see.
Yeah, and it's definitely don't like I can't stress it enough like how big of a deal this really is
Yeah,
because WWE just does not play with other wrestling companies.
no, they
And
don't.
so the fact that they're letting Karl Anderson do this, it's definitely a big deal and it says a lot and who knows where it could lead. Um all I'm going to say, could WWE be invading New Japan? Karl
That
Anderson at the show, Sasha Banks will be at the show.
ooh,
Just saying.
that
Just
would be
saying.
insane.
Let's manifest it. Please God, that would be so sick. I
Like
want
the
a good
rest of
old
the
invasion.
yeah, that would be insane.
Yeah. I
Oh
mean,
wow.
AJ Styles, Luke Gallows show up.
Yeah, bro, that would be sick.
Yeah.
What if like Finn Balor? Yeah, like Finn Balor shows up.
Yeah.
Oh
Oof.
wow. Chills. Yeah, dude, literally chills.
For sure. So that's definitely a very big deal. And it's going to be interesting to see sort of where their relationship goes from here, whether this could very well be the end of it. We've seen things like this happen before with Mickey James and Impact, I believe, when she entered the Royal Rumble, and we thought maybe that they're going to be working with Impact, and they didn't end up doing anything after that, but it very well could lead to something in the future and down the line if nothing happens immediately. It's good to have a good relationship with other professional wrestling companies, especially others that are as historic and legendary and important to professional wrestling as New Japan is. So hopefully that will turn into something more than just this one off thing. I would be extremely surprised if Karl Anderson retains his title at Wrestle Kingdom 17. I think if he does, then there could be something a little more there between the two companies. So it's
Agreed.
going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds. And like I said, Wrestle Kingdom 17 is taking place on January 4th. It is their biggest show of the year. Essentially, it's their WrestleMania. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But moving on to some other news that's not as great. Matt Riddle was recently attacked by Solo Sikoa on Raw, and fans were wondering what was going to happen with him. They said he was supposed to be out for 6 weeks. People were expecting him to return at the Rumble, which very well could happen. But per bodyslam.net, Matt Riddle was written off of TV for a failed drug test. This is his second failed drug test of the year. And it's important to note that WWE does not test for marijuana anymore, which is like Matt Riddle's whole gimmick. They sort of always just like allude to it. And he's reportedly supposed to go to rehab, and the substance is unknown for what he failed the drug test for. Again, that's all per bodyslam.net. Um, Dillon, why don't you? We've seen something like this happen with Jeff Hardy, where it was reported that the ultimatum was you either go to rehab or you're just going to get released. We saw Matt Riddle reportedly is going to go to rehab, but I mean, you hate to see this happen to a professional wrestler. Hopefully he does get the help that he needs, but maybe we will see him return at the Rumble. It's unknown how long he's going to have to go to rehab for, but like I said, it's definitely you don't want to see this happen to anybody.
No, definitely not. But at the same time, you know what I mean. I'm familiar with substance abuse issues, and this is the second time. You know what I mean. So he's got to go to rehab or get released. Is apparently like what the ultimatum was, and he's making the right decision if that's what he's gonna do and go to rehab, and hopefully he gets better and comes back and can hopefully this doesn't like cost him his career or anything, and he can kind of put it back together and get on get on the right track. But who knows, when he gets out they might as well, like, they very well could probably release him. Who knows what's gonna happen. um I don't really feel comfortable giving my opinion on whether he should stay or should go right now, just because of regarding the whole situation. I think like the best thing for him right now that we can say on our behalf over here at the Burning Hammer is that we just want Matt Riddle to get the help he needs and get better.
For sure. And it definitely just it makes you like think about this whole gimmick that they were doing and like alluding to the fact that he like smokes weed and like
Yeah,
behind the scenes he is struggling with like substance abuse.
yeah.
So it's definitely that's something that's you really have to like take a step back and it's tough to see. But moving on to a little bit more um, cheerful news, it's being listed internally for WrestleMania 39. We have a very interesting match that's being listed internally per WrestlingNews.co. Brock Lesnar versus Gunther is being listed on the internal card for WrestleMania 39. Dillon, would you want this match to happen? And if so, what's your excitement level if it does happen?
Oh my gosh. I mean, this is a dream match, right? Like we need this match to happen and Gunther needs to win. And
For
Gunther
sure.
needs to beat Brock. I mean, I feel like this is a match that you got to have on the card. Especially now with the rumors of it. People are that much more excited for it. It just make it happen. I mean, this is a match people have wanted so long. Like I said, it's a dream match. This is going to be, as we would say over here, a meat fest. I mean, this is just going to be meat on meat, muscles on muscles, just slapping each other around. Um, Literally tons of chops. I mean, those Gunther chops to Brock Lesnar are going to be absolutely hellacious. I mean, Jesus, we need it to happen, and we need Gunther to win.
Yeah, completely agree. And I'm interested to see if it's gonna be A, if Gunther's still gonna be the Intercontinental Champion, and
Mhm.
B, if they have Brock go after the title, because we saw them sort of tease him going after a mid card title with the U.S. Championship when he cost Lashley the title, but then he didn't actually end up going after it. Personally, I would like to see him go after the IC title. I don't know if a match like this would necessarily need it, but I think it would be refreshing to see Brock Lesnar go after the Intercontinental Championship. And I think it could do a lot for the title. Completely agree with the fact that Gunther needs to win. Brock Lesnar's sort of at the point in his career where he needs to start to help putting over the next big thing in professional wrestling and in WWE, and that is Gunther. So I feel like this could be a passing of the torch type of match. And like you said, it's going to be meat on meat. It's going to be a meat fest. Lesnar's just going to throw Gunther around. Gunther's just going to slap the holy hell out of Brock, and it's just going to be awesome. So I would really be down for them to do this, and I'm pretty excited to watch it all play out. Would you be upset if they had Brock beat Gunther?
Um, yeah. Yeah, I definitely would. Yes, definitely. Why? No need
Yeah,
to. I
I
definitely
agree.
would be upset. Um, I was also thinking while you're saying that, I feel like he would drop the IC title before, just because I feel like if Gunther beats, like if Brock Lesnar challenges for Gunther for the IC title and loses, like who's next? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
who the hell is gonna beat him? It's like, yeah, so I feel like he would like drop the title before, and then like they would go, and then after that, and then a win, a Gunther win over Brock that propels him right to the main event picture, and you can have him go right after the world title, right after WrestleMania. That can be your storyline. So I mean, that would be sick.
Who do you think? Because I think I know who is going to be the next Intercontinental Champion, but who do you think is going to be the next person to win the glorious IC title?
I think it could be. I think there's a decent chance it could be Drew McIntyre. Honestly, I think
Okay.
there's a decent chance it could end up being Drew McIntyre. Um, LA Knight maybe.
LA Knight would be pretty sick.
Or Sheamus.
I still think it's gonna likely be Sheamus.
You still think so?
Yeah, I think because they're gonna give him the IC title to have him to give him the Grand
Yeah,
Slams
so
to
what
be.
if he dethrones then what if they do Sheamus versus Drew at Mania for the IC
Yeah,
title? That
that
would
would be
be
sick.
sick. And
Do
they
it,
would do it.
WWE.
Yeah,
Do it.
that's what'll happen. Yeah, do
Yeah,
Sheamus versus Drew for the IC title
yeah. We'll
at
have to
Mania.
mark that down for the Mania early match card predictions.
Predictions, yeah, we're gonna have to do that soon.
Yeah, because that would be sick. Do you
Yeah,
think one
Sheamus.
of them? Do you think one of them would have to turn heel, or do you think it would just be like, they're both
No,
like
I
on
don't
good
think so.
terms?
Yeah, because I think they're so publicly friends. Like,
Yeah,
everyone knows that they're, like, real life, like, best friends. Like, Drew was just Sheamus's best man.
yeah,
So, like,
yeah,
it would be, like, weird. I don't know. They could do
yeah.
it, I guess, but I don't think it would make sense. I feel like it would be more like out of respect, let's put on an insane fucking crazy match as best friends at WrestleMania for the most glorious, like one of the most historic belts in WWE history, if not the most historic belt.
I think that it's definitely something that they could do it like that, where they don't have someone definitively turn heel. If anyone's gonna do it, I would prefer it to be Drew, just
I
because
think
I
it
would
would
like
be
to see
Drew.
that.
I think it would be Drew because I think Sheamus would be so over having just won the IC title.
And he's got the brawling brutes, so like
Yeah.
you can just have Drew turn heel. Regardless, they need to do that match because it would be awesome.
I came to play. There's a price to pay. Time for you. Bro, what was his old theme song?
I
What
don't
was his
remember
Oh my god, he had a really dude, his old theme song was so funny. I gotta find it.
when he was the chick magnet. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was awesome. I've just been washed with awesome. Like that's another person. I'm gonna pivot here to the Miz. That's another person who I would like to see just sort of get a different gimmick or at least a new theme song because it's been the same thing for a while now, and I feel like he needs a bit of a refresh. It doesn't have to be anything drastic, but like he could just take on more of like a Hollywood persona. I think that would be better for him, and then have him feud with LA Knight.
That could be
That,
good.
that could be pretty
Um,
sick.
yeah, I think, I don't think The Miz needs like a complete refresh, but I know what you mean. Like he needs something. You know what I mean? He needs a rejuvenation. He doesn't need like a complete redesign, but a bit of a
Yeah,
refresh. Because he is The Miz.
and
He is
he's
The
awesome.
Miz. Yeah. Um, yeah. They need to do that Drew and Sheamus match at WrestleMania for the IC belt. That would be sick.
Yeah,
This
and
Mania is already like I feel like this Mania is gonna be a good one.
I think it will be too. I mean, there's no reason that it can't be with all of the feuds and the storylines and the rivalries, everything that's leading towards WrestleMania. This could very well be one of the best WrestleManias of all time. It definitely has the potential. It has all the ingredients. But the question is, will the game Trips be able to mix everything up to put together a good
Yeah.
taste in WrestleMania?
Yeah. And wow. Yeah, it's gonna be potentially amazing.
And there also another match that's being discussed internally, reportedly again from Wrestling Observer newsletter, is that they're discussing having Roman defend his title on both nights
Hmm.
in the main event, assumingly. Now, this is something that we pitched a while ago, for being completely honest.
Yeah.
If I'm not trying to be that guy, but we've been talking about it for a while, that's an option that they should do. And the reception on Twitter is not very good.
Really?
for this idea. It's been getting a lot of hate, and I I don't know. I think at this point, if they're going to split the titles, that's how you have to do it.
Yeah, like, how else are you gonna do it? What the
And
fuck are they so mad about?
I think it's just like I think it's mostly because they're not giving one of the night's main events to the women, but
Gotcha.
which the women do deserve a main event
No,
at
yeah, that makes sense. That's not
I'll listen.
I thought the beef was with Roman wrestling, but, like, you know what I mean? I
Well, that's
thought
also what it was. I mean, I think some people are saying they think the women deserve a main event, which they do.
yeah.
Other people are saying like Roman doesn't need to wrestle both nights or whatever, but I'm not saying they have to both be the main event, but Roman needs to defend his titles on both nights. Like I do think the woman should have a main event on one of the nights. Um, but they're discussing his opponents being Cody Rhodes and The Rock. For obviously one
Mhm.
night and then the other night. I personally still think Cody Rhodes is the person to dethrone Roman of the WWE
Yeah,
championship.
I still think that's what they're gonna do.
Also still think that call me crazy. I think Roman's going to hold the title for the Universal Championship for a little while longer. I think Bray Wyatt's going to be the next person to dethrone him, and I don't think it's going to happen at WrestleMania. I just
Mm-mm.
think they're trying to get him. I I can't remember the exact number, but I think Roman Reigns is currently at the eighth or ninth longest title run in WWE history, including like every title. And I think they're going to try to get him to the 6 or 5 spot, which is the only realistic spot he could catch without getting to like a 2 or 3 year title run. And so I think that's what they're going to try to do. And I think they very well will do that. If they do end up doing The Rock versus Roman, I'm just worried that they're going to put the title on The Rock.
They're not gonna.
Um, I
They're
just
not.
don't. I know, but I just have PTSD from
They're not.
WWE for many things.
Yeah, no, but they won't do that.
And it's also important to keep in mind that
It makes
The
no
Rock,
sense.
The Rock is a very busy man, so this is
Yeah.
all just like speculative. And who knows if he'll be available to do it? And they were talking about John Cena's last match potentially being at WrestleMania 39. And then we were speculating on who it should be. Might write an article about it. So stay tuned to vendettasportsmedia.com for that. But there's reports that he's going to be filming a movie in Australia in January or in February and March before the WrestleMania. So his availability is also in the air. But he will be appearing on the Friday Night SmackDown in December 30th, the final SmackDown of the year. So it's going to be interesting to see sort of what he does with that. We saw him appear on Raw this year. He did not wrestle, but he made an appearance, cut a good promo, basically said, "This isn't the end. I just don't know when I'll be able to come back and wrestle again." And this is likely gonna be the first year since he signed with WWE and started for the company that he's not gonna wrestle at least one match for them.
Wow. Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll wrestle on December, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that would be pretty sweet. And like something you need to keep in mind is like John Cena keeps himself in incredible shape. Like that is not a
Yeah.
secret at all. But being in shape and being in ring shape are two completely different things. So if he's not
Mhm.
able to like practice in the ring in the months leading up to his Mania match, it might be a bit hard for them to actually do that. That's another thing that people need to think about. But Dillon, if he does end up wrestling at WrestleMania 39, who do you think should be his last match? I have two pretty good people that I've been thinking about, but who do you think?
Um, so I I would really like them to do LA Knight, me personally. I don't know if that was one of the guys you were thinking.
It was
Um,
nuts.
but I think that would be awesome. What do you
It would
think
be
about
pretty
that?
sick. I like it.
Yeah.
I think, dude, like I I watched LA Knight a little bit in NXT. And I did like him in NXT. Then he got called up, and then he did the stuff with Maximum Male Models, which I didn't like at first, but then it grew on me. And then obviously once Triple H took over, he said enough of that. Obviously LA Knight is a star. Let him just be LA Knight, and he's been amazing, especially in
Yeah.
this feud with Bray Wyatt. I've definitely grown into a bigger fan of LA Knight than I was before. I think that could be a big money match. People were talking about Logan Paul versus John Cena.
Oh yeah, that could be
Um,
potentially.
that would be another big money match. I think Austin Theory is a good option
Hmm.
to be the person to retire John Cena. And then the other person I was thinking about is Edge.
Ooh, that would be sick. One
Yeah.
last Edge and Cena match.
Yeah. That would be my vote if they were
Hell
going to
yeah.
do one. And maybe they could, because I think it was after, I don't know if it was a house show or if it was just after an episode of Raw or SmackDown, but a few months ago, Edge did talk about how like he's coming to the end of his wrestling career. So maybe they could do like a double retirement match. And
Hmm.
it's like, yo, like we both agree this is gonna be our final match. Let's just go out there and kick the hell out of each other.
Each other, yeah. And our yeah, the two biggest rivals of our career.
Yeah, because we grew up on Edge and Cena.
Edge and Cena is the rivalry.
Yeah. And I mean, we still were traumatized with Edge and Lita having sex.
Oh yeah, dude.
Ring. Oh man.
Woo.
What a time. That was something. So stay up to date. We're going to be doing early match card predictions for WrestleMania 39. There's a lot of really good stuff. They have a lot of potential. Everything going on with the bloodline. Like I said, The Rock could appear, Cody could appear, Cena could appear, Brock could appear. So there's a lot of good stuff that could happen at WrestleMania 39. But
Steve Austin,
oh yeah,
Stone
Stone Cold
Cold.
Steve Austin could have a last match at Mania, which would also
Bro,
be
yeah, like this match, this WrestleMania could potentially have The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena, Roman Reigns, like Logan Paul, fucking
Edge.
like who? What the fuck? This Mania is
Yeah.
gonna be insane if it plays out.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, so the last thing we're going to cover is probably the most recent news, and this is per Fightful Select. Mandy Rose has reportedly been released from WWE. Now, this was following the content of her fan time account got leaked all over Twitter, which caused a huge storm on Twitter. And WWE felt like the content was outside of the parameters of her deal, and she reportedly did breach WWE's deal with Mattel. And based off the content she was posting, WWE felt like they had to release her. Dillon, what do you want to start us off here?
yeah, I guess, and I guess I'll say like as and me and Mark both as men addressing this issue, where we don't have like the greatest perspective to come from, but at the same time, say I'm just like embarrassed at the WWE because the big thing is like this is what it is. They don't care about it's not about setting an example like and I heard the amount of people saying like oh, it's about like setting an example for the kids. No, it's not. That's not setting like what are you talking about? Multiple people saying that it's not a good like example to have on they don't want that to represent their brand. That's not what it is at all. It's the fact that she was doing this in a way, monetizing it in a way that WWE couldn't control. They had zero control over it. They were getting nothing out of it. Um, it was something that was completely on her own, and they couldn't do anything about it. The WWE is listen. I'm a fan of professional wrestling. I'm a fan of a lot of the content that WWE puts out. There's still a giant billion-dollar corporation that does a lot of stupid, shady shit that every billion-dollar corporation has. And this is just like, can't support women's wrestling and not support women. That's pretty much how it works. Like, so you can't pick and choose when you want to be a program for kids and when you want to not be. You can't pick and choose what sets a good example and what doesn't. And you can't. It's just embarrassing. It's just like some loser shit by the WWE. Some straight up loser shit.
Yeah,
And
and
it's just such a bad look among like
yeah,
above
for
all.
WWE.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so like
exactly.
the thing is like WWE has made countless amounts of money off females' bodies in the past. I mean, like we were just talking
The
about the whole
exploitation of them for so long,
yeah,
like,
they've paid their wrestlers to do Playboy in the past. They told NXT, the women's NXT roster, to dress more sexy. Like, and they used Mandy Rose as an
yeah,
example as
as the
early as
example,
last year.
as
And
the example, and then she
Mandy
got
Rose's whole
fired for the
thing,
same sexuality.
and yeah, and they were like using her sex appeal on with her gimmick, with her character. And I
They
saw
used her
some
as an object and as, like, the prize in a storyline before too, like,
yeah. And so like the thing that I saw someone tweet was that I thought was pretty interesting was like WWE wasn't mad at the stuff she was posting. WWE was mad at the fact that they weren't making any money off of it, that she was going off and she was doing it on her own.
yeah.
Again, none of this was supposed to come to light. She was doing it like in private and then it just got leaked all over social media. But it's just a bad look for WWE. And now, there are reports that the door could potentially be open for her to make a return if she wants to return. And there are also reports that she was making more money doing that than she was getting paid to wrestle for NXT.
Yeah, which is, if that's true, fuck it. Get the bag and you don't have to take bumps anymore.
Yeah, it's just crazy how like hypocritical WWE can be sometimes, and you
Oh my
just feel
gosh.
bad
It
for
really
all of the women on and
Yeah,
it's a shame. It really is.
it's embarrassing. Um, there's no way, like, there's no way you whatever, it was a breach of her contract, it was a blah, 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 blah. Like, there's no way that you could make this sound better to me. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. It's like an unarguable topic to me. Like, it was not right. I think especially, I don't know, just coming from, like you said, the company that has had brawl and panty matches and fucking pudding matches, like literally made women wrestle in pools
Lingerie
of pudding.
matches,
Yeah, like,
wet t-shirt contests, a lot of really
yeah,
awful things
bikini
over the past.
contest,
I mean,
strip poker.
Triple H married Stephanie
When you
on screen when she
Walsh,
was unconscious.
yeah, just like yeah, and this is just to name, like, this is like on
This is just
screen
a
stuff.
few off the
Yeah,
top
and
of our heads too.
yeah, and like, not to mention the amount of, I can name at least 20 people that are employed by WWE off the top of my head that have more of a reason, like, to be fired than Mandy Rose. Like, 20 people off the top of my head, like, without thinking hard about it. I could probably name 20 people that have done something that should have gotten them fired, but it didn't. And Mandy Rose was not one of them. This was not one of them. It's just, yeah, the problem was WWE. The problem was she was doing this in a way that WWE could not monetize it, and they were never going to be able to monetize it. So they were just like, whatever. We're not going to continue to pay you so you can go make more money somewhere else. I'm not saying I agree with it at all, because it's just like, I don't know. It's just such a bad look. It's sad. It's fucking. It's just like I said. It's just sad. It's just embarrassing too.
And we didn't even okay, so on she was NXT Women's Champion for
Oh
413
yeah,
days. She really helped rebuild the NXT Women's division once she went back down to NXT, and she was a huge part of it. She was formed Toxic Attraction, which everyone was super pumped. Everyone loved. They were waiting for them to get called up. They were saying the women's division on the main roster, they need Toxic Attraction. And so she lost her NXT championship on Tuesday to Roxanne Perez. And this is, I'm not trying to take anything away from Roxanne Perez because she's an incredible talent, but that was because of this stuff. And everyone was wondering, like, oh, maybe she'll get called up to WWE now. You know, they were pumped that she was probably going to be on the main roster. They were wondering what's next, and no one knew what was coming, which was her getting released, which it's just a shame. You feel awful for her. And it's just like you have when you're signed with WWE, you have like so little ways of making money through an avenue outside of WWE that doesn't involve WWE. Like all of the stuff that these wrestlers do is like going through WWE. So if you want to like do something on your own, there's very few ways, if any, that you can actually go out and do it. Um, it's just an awful thing that happened. I believe she once you get released from NXT, you have 30 days before you can compete again in the squared circle. So it's going to be interesting to see if she does step back in the ring. I know there was quotes before of her talking about how she does want to start a family because she is like in her early 30s. So maybe she won't wrestle again as long as she does whatever she wants to do and whatever makes her happy. That's the most important part. And like I just said, the reports were that she was making more money off this. So she wants to do that and ultimately just save her body from the punishment that she was taking in wrestling, then let her do that. But you know, who knows? Maybe we'll see her pop up in AEW. I think if she does go to another company, she can definitely pursue something on the side. You know, we've seen Tony Storm has an OnlyFans, I believe. You've seen other wrestlers pursue other things outside. She could wrestle
yeah.
for other companies.
Tay
So
Mello.
yeah. Paige Van
There's
Zant has
I
one.
was
So
thinking, there's like a bunch of people with in AEW
yeah.
like with OnlyFans and stuff. So if she wants to go there and do it, all the power to her. Tony Khan will definitely take her.
Yeah. And so hopefully
And
she
they could
just
use
does.
her over there, honestly,
Yeah.
because this was what I just wrote this in the article. I'll just say it real quick, but like one of the reasons I want her to go to AEW is because she's such a hot topic right now that like it'll force Tony Khan to give more airtime to the women's division, and then it'll force the women's division into beginning to improvement, which it is starting to get a little bit better over there on AEW. I will say the women's division has been getting better, but it's been one of the things that has been AEW's um biggest, I guess, downside has been their women's division, and it hasn't been fault of the talent.
Yeah, it's just like I mean, we've talked about it a lot before, but they've just booked the women's division pretty poorly. And like you said, they have been doing a bit of a better job over the few months, but we've still see dynamites and rampages that just feature one woman's match and maybe a backstage segment. So
Hmm.
um, it's definitely something that they need to work on. And it's not like they don't have the talent because they have an extremely talented women's division. Um, they have a pretty big issue with like who's going to dethrone Jade Cargill. Um, maybe that'll be Sasha Banks. Who knows?
Who knows?
Um, but yeah, and the other thing is like, what are they going to do with Gigi and Jossie? Are they going to call him up? How are they going to like portray this on television? Like, because everyone knows.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I know.
That's like I don't know like how they're gonna handle this with like the on-screen storyline. If they're gonna call the two of them up, maybe they will re-sign her because that is still in the picture. I saw someone say What if they just like released her and then they're gonna like rehire her to capitalize on like all of the buzz that she has and immediately bring her up to the main roster? I don't know how likely that is, but it's
Yeah.
gonna. I don't know. You also just like sort of forget about Gigi and Jossie, and you kind of just feel bad for them because like
Mhm.
what are they gonna do now?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's just overall a
It's a
really bad
shame.
situation and a bad look for WWE. You feel awful for Mandy Rose, and you feel awful for women not only in wrestling but in real life because they have to deal with this sort of stuff all of the time. So that's gonna wrap up this episode of the Burning Hammer podcast. This was a great one.
Yeah, man.
We
Yeah,
don't
man.
we got Royal Rumble coming up next as the next
Hell yeah.
big pay-per-view or premium live event, should I say. That's going to be awesome. I just published 2 articles predicting who number 30 is going to be for the men and women's Royal Rumble. So you can head over to vendettasportsmedia.com to read those. Stay up to date with Vendetta's social media on Twitter. They are at Vendetta VSM. On Instagram and TikTok, they are at Vendetta Sports
Know
Media.
what? I'm so fucking sorry.
We'll go now.
You know what dude, I'm so sorry for that.
I bet this is going to be something really important that you just couldn't hold in.
Yeah, I guess. Have just been thinking, dude, like this whole time we've been doing this podcast, I think we've been doing a podcast together, we've been doing it with a hurt Cody. So it's just like gonna be so fucking awesome to have him
Yeah.
back. Like, oh my god, like that's all I was thinking of, because I was thinking about the Rumble, and I was like, bro, I just can't wait for fucking Cody to be back. Like I've been like, I haven't even like, for the amount of time I've been podcasting and writing wrestling over the last several months, Cody's been hurt, and it just sucks.
Yeah. And I think
And I was just so excited when he came. It makes it better though. Almost it like saves the hype, I guess.
yeah, I mean, because he definitely arrived surprisingly on the scene, immediately had an incredible feud with Seth Rollins, gave us 3 really good matches, one potentially match of the year, and then he sadly got hurt, but maybe he'll return at the Rumble. Maybe he's my number 30. Maybe he's not. You're going to have to read the article to find out. But like I said, I think he's going to be the person to win the WWE Championship off of Roman Reigns. If he doesn't, I don't know who's going to do it. So that being said, make sure to follow Vendetta Sports Media on their social media. On Twitter, they are at Vendetta VSM. On Instagram and TikTok, they are at Vendetta Sports Media. If you're watching on Vendetta's YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and head over to The Burning Hammer and make sure to subscribe to us and like and comment on all of our videos. It really does help us out a lot. Best way to stay up to date with when we release new episodes is to follow us on our social media. On Twitter, we are at The Burnt Hammer. On Instagram and TikTok, we are at The Burning Hammer. If you're listening via audio streaming service, make sure to follow, make sure to subscribe, whatever it is that your streaming platform does. So that way it will just pop up right in your library when we release a new episode. And make sure to leave us a review because that really helps us out a lot. In case you didn't know and you're watching on YouTube, this is available wherever you listen to podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on iHeartRadio. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we will be there. If you want to stay up to date with Dillon's hot takes in the professional wrestling world, follow him on Twitter and Instagram at DillO'Brien_wave. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at MarkIzzo_wave. That is the best way to get our initial reactions on anything and everything involving professional wrestling. And follow The Burning Hammer, like I said, on their social media. That is the best way to get all of your news, rumors, reports, fantasy stuff, initial reactions, anything involving professional wrestling. Make sure to follow us on social media. All right. Great episode. We had a few major things that are happening, some good, some bad, but nevertheless, we will always be here to talk about it. I'm Mark Izzo. He's Dillon O'Brien, and this has been another episode of the Burning Hammer podcast. We'll catch you in the next one.